We are not our bodies. We are the decisions we make, the lives we change, the people we love. In the world of Invincible, there are more superheroes than you can count. You couldn't throw a rock without at least hitting one person wearing a cape. Watching the show, we admire the efforts of valiant heroes like Rexplode, Adam Eve, Monster Girl, Not You, and of course the titular hero himself, Invincible. But amongst all of these heroes flying in the sky with all of their immense strength and powers, there is one person in this story that stands out above the rest. One person that demonstrates so much unshakable heroism that it would be a shame not to list him as one of the best heroes that the planet has. One person who often gets overlooked but never fails to deliver when it counts and always completes his mission. And that person, of course, is Donald. My name is Luke, and this is my channel where I share my lukewarm takes on animation, and my lukewarm take of the day is that Donald Bobby Hill Ferguson is the unsung hero of Invincible. Invincible is a story that drives its narrative around tight character writing that makes its larger-than-life heroes feel so incredibly grounded and human. This is seen obviously with the amazing character writing for Mark, Omni-Man, Debbie, Cecil, Rex, Eve, Oliver. I could go on and on about how spectacular every character's story arcs are and how fleshed out each of them feel. This grounded and emotional storytelling does a great job to make this fictional superhero world feel very believable. We see much of the story from the perspective of Mark, or Invincible, as he instantly becomes one of the strongest beings on his planet on a random Tuesday. Even though Mark's entire deal is that he gets completely wrecked both physically and emotionally every single episode, he is still, at the end of the day, a nearly indestructible alien with superhuman strength and healing. Living in the world of Invincible as Mark is challenging, don't get me wrong, but it is nowhere nearly as terrifying as existing in it as a regular human being. A human being who, no matter how much training, preparation, or mental fortitude that you have, at the end of the day, you cannot stop a building falling on you during a battle between two godlike entities. Season 3 of Invincible does a great job of pointing out the deep moral complexity of Cecil Stedman, who, despite being one of the most brilliant strategists the world has, is still just a powerless human when put up against just Invincible. And Mark doesn't even hold a candle to the weakest pure-blooded Viltrumites floating around in space. There is no talking or reasoning with someone like Omni-Man, and you certainly can't out-muscle him, although Cecil did give Nolan a run for his money at the end of Season 1. Cecil never drops his poker face, but we know that he is constantly terrified of what Viltrumites are capable of, and understandably always plans for the next Omni-Man to attack. Anissa proved that the world, and especially Invincible, are ill-equipped to stop any single Viltrumite from coming to Earth and just taking it by force. This is why he makes moral compromises for the sake of ensuring the planet's safety. As Cecil puts it, you can be the good guy or you can be the guy who saves the world. And of course, there is an equally fragile, equally terrified, equally human person serving as Cecil's right-hand man. When we see Donald Ferguson in Season 1 of Invincible, he came off very unassuming. He was just another generic assistant character, higher level than your average government goon, but not as important to pay attention to as Cecil was. And this was by design. Invincible makes it clear time and time again that it wants to subvert the expectations of your average superhero formula. Mark very frequently doesn't make the last-minute save. Villains like Doc Seismic and the Mahler twins came off as villains of the week only for them to defeat the heroes fairly easily. Omni-Man was presented as the Superman of this story, but it was of course Invincible who would turn out to be the true Superman of the story, and also simultaneously Spider-Man, because this dude cannot catch a break. Unless you're talking about his bones. Donald works in very much the same way, subverting the expectations of your average right-hand man lackey. He started the series attached to Cecil's hip and would have a few lines here and there bouncing off of Cecil. But it wasn't until Omni-Man's final crash out on Earth that we really saw Donald's bravery and dedication to saving others really shine. His final act was taking a page out of Electrode's book and using self-destruct with the hopes of slowing Omni-Man down just a few seconds longer for Mark to arrive. This moment earned a lot of respect for Donald from many viewers, me included, which is why it was a shock to see him pop up again mysteriously in the second season. And it would be in this second season that Donald would shoot up to being one of the best characters in the entire series. Donald's overarching story in season 2 of Invincible is not original. Much like the story of RoboCop or the story of Cyborg before him, Donald learns that after he lost his life, he was brought back with cybernetic enhancements to continue working for the government. The extra layer that makes Donald's discovery that he was a robot that much more emotionally impactful was the realization that everything was his choice. Donald voluntarily chose to be brought back as a cyborg time and time again, and chose to have his memories erased so that the mental trauma wouldn't affect his mental capacity to save others. As Donald says to Rick in episode 7 of season 2, as he is standing on that ledge, we are not our bodies, we are the decisions we make. The essence of Donald, who he is within his soul, is a hero. And he shows this through his decision to put himself through what is essentially hell just so that he could continue his contribution to the safety of humanity. Donald knows that he could quit the GDA, it's not like Cecil was forcing him to do anything. He also knows that he could just reject being brought back. But Donald chooses to be brought back, chooses to put his very vulnerable life on the line over and over again until he's 98% metal to do whatever he can to save just one more life. I mean, he has confirmed that he has met his end 39 separate times already. How many people in Invincible do you think would keep asking to be brought back after going through that? I know Immortal sure as hell wouldn't. Going back to that speech he gave to Rick, this is one of the most raw and real experiences I've seen in the whole story of Invincible. If you take it as just a superhero fantasy of one cyborg comforting another cyborg, it hits very hard. But this conversation between two people who feel like their humanity has been removed from them can be a metaphor for someone who has been disabled as a result of an accident trying to console another recently disabled person and help them feel more human again. By all definitions, Donald Ferguson is a representation of physical disability. Despite his robot limbs and artificial skin, he will never have some of the same human feelings and functions he used to have before. Donald doesn't have the luxury of being the head of the GDA. He doesn't have the cunning and honestly mild sociopathy to do the things that Cecil does. He doesn't have the fancy teleportation technology to save him in last-minute situations. However, what Donald does have is arguably more admirable and valuable. He has the heart of a true hero. Time and time again, Donald consistently gives up his life to save others and voluntarily has himself put back together only to sacrifice himself over and over again in the service of humanity. Imagine if after Steve Rogers jumped on that grenade in the first Captain America movie, he didn't receive the super soldier serum but instead was given the opportunity to jump on the grenade over and over again to save more lives. Steve would take that opportunity in a heartbeat, and so would Donald Ferguson, every single time. What's even more admirable is that Donald's cyborg body barely offers him any increased strength. He is not as strong or as durable as a Reaniman or nowhere near as powerful as someone like even the Immortal. And we know how weak he is. When the Invincibles attacked during the Invincible War, his first instinct was to go back out into the field, to face an unstoppable force, to once again put his body in front of the grenade in hopes that it might do something, anything to save another person. That's who Donald is. Even Cecil is shocked at how ready he was to go out there, but Donald simply replies, "It's what I do." I want to take a quick side tangent to talk about anime since most of my channel is anime based and compare Donald to one of my favorite superheroes in all of anime, Mumen Rider from One Punch Man. The reason this guy earned the respect of so many One Punch Man fans is the same reason that Donald earned the respect of so many Invincible fans. He is the human being putting himself up against unstoppable odds for no greater reason than to save more lives. Mumen Rider, memes aside, is just a guy on a bicycle. Yet, he stood up against a monster that destroyed multiple S-class heroes without fear or hesitation. He knew that he would have been thrown around like a ragdoll and likely immediately be eviscerated, but went in there knowing that if he could just buy a few more seconds for the stronger heroes to arrive, then he would have fulfilled his duty as a hero. And this heroism paid off once Saitama appeared, acknowledging him as the biggest hero there. Both Mumen Rider and Donald Ferguson are pinnacles of what it means to be a true hero in a society of heroes, as they show that strength does not make a hero a hero. It will always be their heart and devotion to saving lives that makes someone a true hero. Donald doesn't get nearly as much screen time as the other heroes in the story, but whenever he does, I always get a sad smile on my face knowing the immense sacrifice this man is making to even be in this story. Donald Ferguson is truly the unsung hero of this world. He may not be the strongest, he may not be the fastest, he may not be able to fly, but you can be sure that Donald's heart is 100% invincible. Thank you all so much for watching this video. It's not my usual anime content, but I just love this season of Invincible so much that I had to make a video on it. And Omni-Man and Mark have been covered by so many other people, so I figured it's time to give love to someone who deserves it a lot but is rarely mentioned. If you do like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button and subscribe if you want some more, and as always, I'll catch you next time with some more lukewarm takes.